Just a moment. Yes, we are live now. Okay. Namaste. Welcome everyone to the second installment of Parampara's online discussion series. Now, at the beginning of this month, our series opened with a conversation about the relevance and evolution of the Arangetram or Rangapravesham. This time, our focus is on the Guru Shishya tradition. Is it supreme? Is it superfluous? What is its relevance in the dance traditions, the art traditions that we have today? No matter which generation of artist you are, no matter where you have learned your art, the connection between a student and teacher is fundamental. Now, in the Indian tradition especially, that complex bond of affection, obligation, duty, mutual respect, and so much else, it's captured by the ethos of the Guru-Shishya relationship. So in this session, the intention is to analyze and interrogate this concept. How has it been defined in tradition? How does it translate to the Indian art sphere today? Does the relationship of a Shishya with the Guru demand a total sublimation of the self and of reason? Or is that simply how this idea has been projected? Now, we reference gurus and Shishyas, but they manifest across a very broad spectrum. Do all of them subscribe to the same ethos of the Guru-Shishya bond? Do they need to? That's another question as well. So these are some of the issues that the speakers on today's panel will be touching upon. I'll take a minute to introduce myself. My name is Meenakshi Ravi. I'm a dancer based in London and I work as a broadcast journalist. Now, I have the pleasure of moderating this session, and I shall take a couple of minutes to introduce each of our speakers before you hear from them. First, we have Pushkala Gopal. Namaste. She's a Bharatanatyam educator, choreographer, and performer who splits her time between London and Chennai. Her work has been recognized with multiple awards, most recently the prestigious MBE bestowed by the Queen of England. Our next speaker is a senior dancer of the Jaipur Gharana of Kathak, Prerna Srimali. She's an innovative choreographer, performer, and teacher. Namaste. She's a Sangeet Natak Academy awardee and she works between both Delhi and Jaipur. Preeminent dansuse Pratibha Prahlad is a respected performer, educator, author, speaker, arts administrator, and cultural visionary. Namaste. Of the many arts equities that she has founded, the Hampi Festival and the Delhi International Arts Festival are the most well-known and prestigious. She is a recipient of the Padma Shri and Sangeet Natak Academy Awards, amongst many others. I move on next to Professor Alekhya Punjala, who has trained in both Kuchipudi and Bharatanatyam. Namaste. She has performed extensively in India and abroad and is a recipient of numerous state awards and the Central Sangeet Natak Academy Award. She formerly served as the registrar of the PS Telugu University in Hyderabad, and she was the first female registrar of the institution. Then we have the Padma Bhushan awardee, Sahitya Kala Parishad and Sangeet Natak Academy Award recipient, Swapna Sundariji. She's an icon of the Indian classical dance world. Her work in the fields of Kuchipudi and Vilasini Natyam have been definitive, spanning performance, choreography, teaching, and codifying the art. Now, also present on our panel is Sanjay Kumar Joshi ji. He just suffered a power outage, so he's just coming back online with us. Now, he is director of the Parampara Dance and Music Forum. He's trained in Kathak, Bharatanatyam, and Kuchipudi, and he has dedicated himself for well over a decade to the study and revival of Vilasini Natyam. The Parampara Forum itself, that he established in 1996, conducts classes, seminars, and dance festivals. So to everyone on the panel, thank you for sharing your time with us today. We'd like to begin by getting a sense from each of you individually about your insights on the Guru Shishya tradition. Just before that, I want to welcome everybody in the audience, whether you're watching us on Facebook or on YouTube. Please note that this session will be interactive in about 45 minutes to an hour. So we would love to have your questions in the comments section. Please leave your name. Please specify who you would like to address your question to. Like I said, you have time now. Please don't worry about putting questions now. Relax and listen to us. We have about 45 minutes of discussion, and then we will open up the session. I will start then with Pushkalaji. It would be nice to start by hearing your thoughts. You are part of the artistic tradition of Bharatakalanjali, established by the Natyacharyas, the Dhananjayans. In addition, you have students across UK, Europe, and India. What are your reflections on how the Guru Shishya bond translates nowadays? And I'll just remind you to unmute. Yes.
Thank you. Greetings. Now, every aspirant starts off as a Vidyarthi, as a Shishya. And in the Natya tradition, where you start with the basic steps of the movement vocabulary, these are taught to you by a Natyacharya, an Acharya who not only teaches you the body skills, but also teaches you the rules of the system, the acharas of the system. And now, when we ourselves become teachers, Acharya Karanam is what we mostly do, which is to mold young aspirants by training, first of all, their bodies. Now, those who are fortunate generally manage to do 6 or 8 years initially with the same Acharya, and sometimes later or sooner, depending on individual cases, geography or sometimes an unfortunate change in circumstances prompts them to move elsewhere. Now, in that stage, very often what happens is that the relationship between the new person and the pupil is that often that of a mentor and a mentee. Now, a mentor is somebody who's like a margadarshi. They show you the way or they open different doors to you. And at this stage, very often, pupils who might have an arangetram behind them with one teacher, one style, they also get inspired in this global world of connections by other people they follow. And sometimes the inspiration that comes to them may not even be person to person. It may just be a style that they're inspired by or a personality they're inspired by, and they tend to follow that. And at this stage of their learning or development, it's that influence which sometimes overtakes the early influence of the initial Natyacharya who might have set them on the path. These days, with the diaspora, there are also patterns of groups of pupils having a peripatetic relationship with somebody who is a regular teacher and somebody who's the guru, who they might interact with long distance. Many of you would have heard of the summer school, which used to happen at Yogaville. For 25 years, the gurus, the Dhananjayans, went every year. And the pupils that they have this peripatetic bond with, the bond sometimes still seems as secure as the bond of somebody who is in regular teaching and learning. There is the other kind of pupil who might leave their home and go and stay in a different city or a different country even for a few years. And very often that new place might well become their permanent home because of all the artistic growth and leaning and connections they have. So learning to dance, training one's body, following a practice, and then getting confident enough to create new work, and then to carry on, fostering one's parampara and spreading it, whether it's through performance or whether it's through learning. This is an enormous journey. And from my experience of being a Shishya, without that interpersonal connect, I think for our performing arts, there is no other route that will work. You can't do it just off books and off videos. And
perfectly summarized. Yes, if you don't mind, I wanted to make sure that we get across the whole panel. Did you want just a few more seconds to wrap up?
Yes. So I wanted to say that there are dance forms where you can have a teacher and do a few bodily things. But with an acharya, you grow. And with a guru, you manage to touch or embrace the sublime.
Thank you very much, Pushkalaji. I'll now move on to Prerna ji. Prerna ji, you have learned from Guru Shri Kundanlal Gangani ji. What are your memories of the relationship with your Guru, and what elements of that Guru Shishya bond would you like to see endure? Before you start speaking, I'll just remind Pushkalaji to mute so that we can hear Prerna ji clearly. And Prerna ji, the floor is yours. Please go ahead.
Yeah, namaskar to all. Without wasting time, I am going just to the points because I have written it down. First of all, I want to say that as you asked me, that I'm a product of this great tradition. And I have seen a very beautiful face of this tradition as a 6-year-old when Guruji used to come and teach me at home. I know, as far as I know, I know that 3 kinds of Guru Shishya Parampara. One, where Guru and Shishya are living together, sharing the roof and food. Second, where Guru is coming to home. And third, where student is going to learn. I am from the second one. Guruji used to come at home, and in fact, he inculcate the love for Kathak in me, because I am from a family where no music and no dance. So it was all his credit that he inculcate this tradition in me, and I didn't know it was so quietly seeded, robed, and grew in me. And very late in my life, I've realized that this is a Guru Shishya Parampara. This was the first thing. And the second point is, if you want to learn any classical art form, I think you have to go through this parampara. Even in the institutions, the one-to-one contact is very important. That's why you can see that the one guru and various shishyas and all are different from each other. And that is the beauty of the teaching and learning with Guru Shishya Parampara, as far as I concern. And we should not forget that we all are the carrier of the oral tradition, because all these streams are coming from the oral traditions. The third point, to learn any language, one must understand the basic grammar, as Pushkalaji was saying. And the basics and the grammar, because the grammar means you are stepping towards unknown. And that unknown territory, you need a guide. And here comes the Guru to just pick you up and show the light. That's what my understanding is, because Indian classical music and dance are unlike visual arts, because visual art, often people used to say that we don't have any particular grammar and there are no limits. But here, maybe we have open-ended dance forms, but still there are peripheries and there are limits and there are boundaries. We can push it further. That is what the beauty of tradition. And in my understanding, the person who transmits the learning perfectly to the next generation is a perfect teacher. But the person who transmits the learning with own wisdom and their own inputs, that is the Guru, I think. And who can push further the boundaries of the parampara. And my last point is that now we have many faces of it. We have Guru Shishya Parampara, hai ya nahi, I don't know, but there is, I believe. Mentorship, then there are YouTubes, then there are workshop artists. There are so many students I have seen who are coming from the workshops, and they are just, they have no idea that what they are learning and where are they going. So I think this is the time to take a pause and understand that what we knew, what we want, and what we want to understand. I believe that this great heritage should be kept alive and intact. Doesn't matter how many offshoots are there growing, but there is always a way out. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prerna ji. I'd like to move on now to Pratibha ji. Pratibha ji, the practice of performing arts has always been subject to change and evolution. So it doesn't seem to be a surprise that the Guru Shishya tradition has also evolved. What are your perspectives, please? Prerna ji, just mute yourself.
Sorry.
Pratibha ji can unmute.
Namaskar, and thank you for having me on the panel. Um, I think this is a very, very important topic and a very important, question in everyone's minds. The question being, is Guru Shishya Parampara a myth or a reality in today's times? I want to begin by saying that the Guru Shishya relationship, as I understand it, is one that is based on unconditional love and unconditional trust, as is a relationship with a parent. The child that steps into the world of the arts under the guidance of a teacher, a tutor, whatever you want to call that person, enters a hitherto unexperienced world. And so, therefore, it is a movement from agyana to jnana, as Pushkala ji, just mentioned. And when the child, steps into this world and takes on a teacher, obviously, it's a factor of trust, of love, of admiration, and of a whole lot of a gamut of emotions that the child has, maybe inspiration, maybe awe, for the teacher. And so this relationship is becomes extremely sacrosanct and should be handled with extreme care by the guru, because when the child comes to him, the child is just a child that needs to be molded. um, you know, we keep talking about our hoary antiquity when we enter a child into the world of dance. To top this, we keep chanting Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. We say this every single day, every single time a student, steps in to a teacher's home. So the student starts believing that this teacher is actually Sakshat Brahma, on this earth, and that he or she is flawless, that his thinking, his action, or his perception of the world is flawless and perfect. Let us then fast forward to several years later, when the student grows up and starts noticing um, flaws in the same icon, guru, acharya, tutor that he or she once worshipped and thought of as a perfect being in a perfect world. Because the world is imperfect, as all of us know it, and human beings have their frailties and their flaws, and they're completely flawed. So when we fast forward this into a child in the teens stepping into the world of professional arts, professional dancing, professional music, and starts noticing that the guru gives preferential treatment to some who are richer, maybe more influential students, and maybe those that can give out a lot more to the guru. Then the teacher begins changing. This relationship begins changing contours subtly, but surely and suddenly. And the guru sometimes starts charging exorbitant amounts for doing Natuvangam, for teaching new choreographies, and the student is then in a professional space where you can neither step out of the professional space because you're given 10, 12, 50 years into the dance world, and you don't know how to move forward. So this parampara that we're talking about then becomes a noose around the student's neck, a noose that a student can neither take out for fear of of a lifelong kind of a separation from his or her teacher, and can't live with because it's strangulating the student, and the student does not know how to breathe or breathe freely. So that is when the Guru Shishya Parampara, or whatever we call it, this relationship of the Guru and the Shishya has to come under a microscopic lens. And that is when the Shishya actually needs help, compassion, and kindness. Why do I say this? Because the unconditional, no, I
Sorry,
have to finish what I have to say. Thank
please
you
do.
very much. But
Please do.
yeah,
I just
so
wanted to call time and let you know that there is the time limit. That's all. Please wrap up.
I don't think I've stepped more than 2 minutes, but I have to finish what I have to say because I'm not here to just raise controversies, and one has to be clear about what where one is stating what and why one is stating what one is stating. So I beg you to give me 1 or 2 more minutes. The unconditional bond of love, um, and trust becomes a noose, like I said, and then to understand and accept that the guru is a flawed human being, given to human, weaknesses, of power and pelf and self-interest, is a painful and traumatic process for the student to assimilate. And the student then becomes filled with grief, confusion, frustration, and low self-esteem. This is what, like I said, these are mental health issues, and these have to be addressed openly and candidly, without hiding behind the garb of sacrosanct, sacred, holy, the Guru Shishya Parampara, which cannot be questioned, which cannot be, tainted, because human beings are tainted. Even the great Dronacharya was tainted when he preferred Arjuna to Ekalavya, or when he preferred, Arjuna to Karna. Even the mother Kunti was tainted when she asked, when she kind of preferred Arjuna to her own other son, Karna. So these are human beings. They are not gods. They are not icons on earth. They are not Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. They are human beings full of, human frailties. And if we understand that, and if we accept that, and we're able to help our children who are in need, who have gone through the stress and trauma, in the most objective manner, because I know that everyone's an advocate when it comes to oneself, but everyone's a judge when it comes to others. And so if we stop judging others and start advocating for others also, and help them assimilate that, yeah, there are these problems, but then you have to go forward, because the relationship, like I said, is one based on love and trust, and these relationships can fail sometimes and can be subjected to other kind of measures. So one has to be realistic, accept this. And also in contemporary times, the dangerous thing is that the Shishyas manipulate gurus. It starts off with the parents who, ambitious mothers who come with rich, ambitious, powerful, beautiful mothers who step into the dance class with their young children and start manipulating the teacher right from the beginning. And then the girl grows up and understands what manipulation is, and she continues to manipulate the teacher. So that's another aspect that we have to openly discuss and candidly discuss. And lastly, we have to discuss this dangerous trend of everyone calling themselves a guru. Everybody who's teaching dance or music is a guru. Why are they gurus? Why are they not just tutors? Why are they not just trainers or whatever else they have to be? Why should this word guru, a person who takes you from agyana to jnana, be superimposed on this system? I mean, when yoga teachers are called yoga teachers, and Pilates teachers are called Pilates teachers, and call them dance teachers, because some of these people who call themselves gurus have not even kind of matured to become artists. They're still in the dancer or singer space. They're not even artists. So instead of going to the artist space and to start calling oneself a guru, I think that is misleading and a misnomer, and that has to be faced candidly and spoken about. Thank you.
Thank you, Pratibha ji. Thank you. Alekhya ji, you have an insight into how the arts are taught in the institutional setting of a university. How does the Guru Shishya relationship translate there? Is the tradition of Guru Shishya still relevant within an institutional setting? I'll just request you to unmute.
A very good evening to all the respected panelists, and thank you for having me here, and welcome to all the young dancers and dance enthusiasts who are all watching and listening to today's discussion. Before we go to the Guru Shishya Parampara, I thought we could just look at the Gurukula system, which was very prevalent in the old days, where the student went, stayed with the teacher, learned, and especially when they were learning any kind of an art form, especially music and dance. And but in today's time, in those days, the students had a choice. It was just music or dance, or learning the Vedas or whatever it is, and it was just the focus. But today the times have changed, and we have academics and plus whatever you want to learn. So the times have changed drastically. And there, the learning, the art form was like spending time with the teacher, listening to their experiences, working at any hour the guru felt like. It was not just 1 hour of a certain day in the week, right? So it was in the course of learning, the student also lent a hand in the several chores of the house by helping the teacher. I mean, willingly. It was not it was not a compulsion or a compulsory thing, but they put their heart into it to become closer to the teacher. And our history is replete with stories of children belonging to royal families who would join Gurukulas for learning several subjects like Vedas, to become capable of taking on future responsibilities. Training.
Alex, just 1 second. Sanjay ji, if you could just mute your mic, please. Once you're muted,
I think. Mute.
No, it is. Now it is. Thank you. Alekhya ji, sorry about that. Please continue.
Look at them as training and finishing schools where they learned, acquired knowledge, learned to share, respect others, so on and so forth. Today, there are no Gurukulas except few institutions who try and follow the structure. And now coming to my experience, I came in at a period when there were no Gurukulas, but then the institutions had started. You had the government colleges in the southern region of music and dance, and then you had institutions run by teachers, gurus who started their own institutions. So I had to manage between, going to school and college and then learning my dance. So it was just these two. And academics was compulsory. I couldn't say no to academics and just go to the dance class. So I had to juggle my time. So it was all studies and dance and nothing else. And thanks to my guru, Parampara Garu, who taught me, and literally all my waking hours after my school and college were spent with her. So I can say it was almost like a Gurukula for me. Apart from my school and college, I was there with her throughout all holidays, all Sundays, no social commitments, no going here, no going there. It was just dance, dance, and dance. But she had, she came from, she had learned from very great gurus like Vedantam Lakshmi Narayan Shastri, Vedantam Jagannath Sharma Garu, Nataraj Ramakrishna Garu, and Bharatanatyam she learned under Sri Pakir Sampille. So I was very proud to learn from her and take this forward. And today, apart from these institutions, we have the universities. Now the setup is very, very different. Here, the student has learned from a teacher or a guru and is coming to the institution, to the university, just for a degree. So there is no kind of a relationship between the teacher and the taught. It is, for them, it is like you're doing your duty. You're paid for it, so you're teaching. So there is that strong. There are some students who still feel that bond, but otherwise it is like an educational institution. You come, you have your syllabus, and the teachers all, wanting to complete the syllabus. No, we can't wait to see if the student has really learned or is able to give back what we have taught. We have a time frame. So we try to rush, we try to teach. So there, the relationship is a little, very fluid. The bond is not so strongly established. That is what I feel. But then probably they do have that bond with the teacher from whom they have already learned. Here again,
Sorry, Alekhya ji. Thank you for if you could just wrap up in a few more seconds, and then I'll move on to Swapna ji. Thank you.
Parampara, I feel, is very, very relevant even today for the serious student who wants to learn dance and take it to the next level. Not for a person who is just taking it as an extracurricular activity and who wants, and this lineage does make a difference. It gives credibility to the student of learning from someone who comes from a said lineage and learning this, understanding it, and then be able to hand it over to the next generation. So I feel it is very, very important and very, very relevant even today. And then I would say, just a few more seconds, that the student, when they choose the guru, I think they should take time to make that choice. And once they make, they should have complete, as Pratibha ji said, complete trust and faith in the guru and the guru's teaching. And do no window shopping if they are serious about learning the art form. And then to nurture this relationship, I think the responsibility is both with the teacher and the student. For I would say that you have to have trust and faith, and the guru, on the other hand, should be able to train and guide the student with responsibility. Nurturing the relationship is the onus of both the guru and the disciple. That is to maintain its beauty, dignity, and sanctity, and make it relevant to the changing times and also the needs of today's times. Thank you.
Thank you, Alekhya ji. Swapna ji, in our discussions in preparation for this session, you spoke about how the Guru Shishya tradition is steeped in this premise of trust and respect for the art, and it transcends the individual. How well does those values or those principles on which the relationship is based, how does that translate into how dance is taught and how students learn today? Just reminding to unmute.
Thank you, Meenakshi, but I would like to take my own direction in this discussion. Since the webinar was suggested, I have applied a lot of thought to this, and I have heard my esteemed colleagues and their viewpoints. I would prefer not to be given a particular direction because I have very definite thoughts which I'd like to share. And I'll begin by, first of all, thanking Parampara for having me on this panel. And I have prepared a paper because there's a lot to say, but very little time to say it. And therefore, I'm going to read from my paper. And perhaps some replies to the questions for which you had suggested that I respond are already contained in these answers, and some more will come as the discussion ensues. Having said that, I also want to rectify that my Vilasini Natyam engagement came much after my training in both Bharatanatyam and Kuchipudi, a fact that a lot of people forget. I had to remind people about it last time also, and I did not have the opportunity to send you my intro, but as Pushkala ji knows and Pratibha ji knows, and probably Alekhya ji also knows, I had a very thorough grounding in Bharatanatyam, performed it till 1992, and was fortunate enough to be learning from very renowned gurus and some not so renowned but excellent gurus as well. So where I come from is a base in all these three traditions. Let me start. At the outset, I state that my intention in joining this webinar is neither to flaunt the nobility of the Guru Shishya Parampara nor to lament its dilution. It is to share my observations about this institution, which are based on direct experience, both as a learner and as a teacher, as clearly as possible. And I have an entire deconstruction of the Guru Shishya Parampara through the Guru Vandana shlokas, not the Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, which is very profound for children to understand, but some other shlokas which are equally profound. And at a later stage, if I have an opportunity, I would like to go into that deconstruction as well. I'll carry on to say that a complex web of motives, such as inspiration, awakening, discipline, surrender, and salutation, represents the essence of Guru-Shishya relationship. The much revered premise that complete surrender to the more self-realized persona of the Guru is essential for spiritual and intellectual growth is a long debated one. Today, implementation of the concept of Guru Shishya Parampara comes across as a trouble-ridden one. There are many reasons. Over the past century, the term Guru Shishya Parampara has been advertised, harvested, packaged, and exported, along with similar problematic terms such as tradition, classical, etc. The concept itself has been regarded, that is the Guru Shishya concept, has itself been regarded as being a fundamental pillar of India's mystical heritage. However, today the term Guru is less mystical and thereby perhaps less revered. This title of the Guru is being increasingly applied for any or all of the following: a coach, an instructor, an impresario, a promoter, a franchisor, a licensor, a guarantor, a manager, a facilitator, a choreographer, and above all, a supplier of useful artistic material. Equally, the term Shishya is being variously employed to describe any or all of the following: a product created by a teacher, often for self-perpetuation, an imitator, a showpiece, a franchisee, a brand advertiser, an assistant, a tool, and at times, sadly, even as bonded labor. Presently, the Guru-Shishya relationship is seen less often with its intrinsic principles in place, and more often as a fertile field to be relentlessly harvested by both teacher and the taught for mutually profitable material results. The exchange of energies, this exchange of energies, is more reminiscent of the barter system which prevailed in medieval India rather than the Guru-Shishya system which originated as a Vedic concept. The teacher and the taught learn and adapt to play roles which yield mutually profitable dividends. I am sharing this observation not as value judgment, but as a statement of fact. Now, around a century ago, the Guru-Shishya relationship had already been impacted by the ideal Guru-Shishya relationship had already been impacted by a transplant in much the same way as would have been a well-established full-grown tree when it is uprooted and moved to a different habitat. Today, it's being transplanted once more into an even newer ecosystem called the digital world. Teachers and students engaged in the pursuit of Indian performing arts are now struggling to evolve new methodologies to carve meaningful roles for themselves within this new ecosystem. This stupendous challenge brings the term Guru Shishya Parampara into even sharper focus and consequently questions the very concept of inward sadhana being a journey led by a single preceptor. Since such a sadhana is considered essential for the pursuit of Indian dance and music, where does that leave today's teachers and their proteges? It is time for everyone engaged with Indian performing arts to take another look at the relevance and even the requirement of Guru Shishya Parampara, insofar as dance and music training goes. From my experience, I have drawn some conclusions. During the discussion to follow, I would be happy to share these if and when the time permits. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Swapnaji. Thank you to everyone who shared your thoughts. Before we move on to actually interacting with the audience, we'd like to actually hear the perspective of a younger generation of artists. Now, they represent a different set of experiences, expectations, and perspectives of the Guru Shishya tradition. Now, before we bring on the first young artist, I'd like to just remind members of the audience, whether you're watching this on Facebook or whether you're watching this on YouTube, please feel free to put questions in the comments box. The request is that you please give us your name and please specify which panelist you would like to have reply to your question so that we can direct it. This session is going to be interactive in about 20-30 minutes now, so you can start putting in your questions. But moving on, it would be good to bring on our first artist, dancer, Mithun Shyam. Namaste. He is based in Bangalore. He is the founder and director of Vaishnavi Natyashala. And at the heart of his perspective on the Guru Shishya tradition is a shloka. Mithun, before I hand over to you, Swapnaji, I will mute, and if you can mute as well, Mithun, you can unmute and begin.
Namaste everyone. Especially thank you to Pratibha ji for recommending me to this wonderful panel. The shloka Meenakshi just mentioned is Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvina Vadhitamastu Ma Vid Vishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Of course, Pratibha ji said that we always, while entering the Guru space, we say Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, where we place the Guru on a pedestal. But at the same time, this is also a shloka that has been taught to us, which says where the Guru and the Shishya tell the shloka together. It is not a shloka that the Shishya dedicates to the Guru, or the Guru asks the student to tell or chant to place the Guru on a particular pedestal of a god or anything like that. Here, all we are saying is, may we all be protected, may we all be nourished, may we all together create some wonderful energy out of this interaction, and may our intellect be sharpened, and let there be no animosity between us during this learning process. So this particular shloka is more dear to me than anything else, because here the definition of a guru itself changes. Why should we call a person a guru? Just like Pratibha ma'am mentioned, every human being is flawed in some form or the other. We are from the land of Dattatreya, who believed that the guru is to be found in a honeybee, in a raven, in a snake, in any person. Even in the bangles of a maiden, you can find a guru, because you learn something from everywhere. So my perception here is, when you define, so similar to again what Pratibha ma'am had mentioned, Dronacharya was flawed, Kunti was flawed, all these great people of our epics, everybody has some flaws, and from certain perspectives, from some, even though he's perfect from one perspective, to another student, to another person who is interpreting it in another way, there is a flaw in that particular perception of this guru. So when that happens, what I believe is that we find our guru in everything. So when this particular teacher of Natyam has an extremely high place in our hearts, because they are introducing us to spirituality. Maybe a spiritual guru is the ultimate guru who's guiding us towards moksha. But if you look at the Natya Guru, Natyacharya, who guides us, they are the ones who introduce us to dance, and through dance lead us to spirituality. One fine day, maybe after your basics, after your Arangetram, they tell you about the Jivatma and Paramatma concept. When I wondered why there was so much of, Sringara based, Naika based love, and even in Ashtapadis, when I found it uncomfortable, what my guru at that time introduced me to the Jivatma Paramatma concept and how to look at it in a certain way. So the Natya Guru, Natyacharya, can be considered as the one who can lead you to that ultimate goal of spirituality and mukti. Dance has the capacity to take you to that mukti. So what we have to learn, what we have to understand, we have to go through this Sahana Bhavatu, Sahanau Bhunaktu, where we accept the flaws, understand the flaws, and maybe learn from the flaws itself. Maybe sometimes you can look at it as a test. Ma'am again mentioned Ekalavya, it as a flaw, but maybe Ekalavya is known today only because Dronacharya took away his thumb. And that is why we know Ekalavya is the greatest Shishya of all times. So what a guru does when we are not, I don't know if we are really capable of, judging it or finding it out. But if you look at the learning opportunities, if we as Shishyas, as students, evolve into perfect human beings and perfect students, maybe you can learn from every event that's happening. Maybe the flaws of charging more.
Sorry, at this
point.
Thank
you. Yeah,
I
so
have this unenviable task of putting a time limit on people.
No problem, no problem. I hope I put my point across, and immense respect to all these great, wonderful I don't know. I'm just thrilled to be here.
Please don't wrap up actually just yet, because as we had discussed, you know, if there was any particular question or point you wanted to pick up with any one of the panelists in particular, or if one of the panelists
Yes, so my point here was that we make the guru. We look at a person and give them the position of guru who removes our ignorance as sishyas. So the student becomes the one who is giving this a particular person or anything the position of a guru, the one who removes that ignorance and ultimately leads us to mukti. So I don't know, this is just my point, and I loved what each of them had brought about here, and it was a learning experience.
Thank you.
If I have said something wrong, please do forgive me.
If the panelists have anything in particular, Alekhya ji, yes, please, if you can unmute.
Prerna ji wants to say something.
Sorry, I didn't see. Prerna ji, please.
I just want to add on Mithun's saying that when he was saying about the mukti, and also just one thought. I'm not saying anything or asking anything. I'm just saying that I always feel that the ultimate of bhakti is dance. All the saints ultimately dance. And here we are starting from that point. So we are already there. We are starting from that point, and we just go beyond that. So dancing in itself is an ecstasy, So you don't have to go for looking for mukti or the ultimate truth. I think dance in itself is the ultimate truth. That's all I want to say.
Thank you, Prerna ji, and Mithun, thank you very much. I'd like to now introduce our next panelist, Swamimalai K. Suresh. He is a key representative of the artistic lineage of... One second. Yeah, all muted. So, Swamimalai K. Suresh is a key representative of the artistic lineage of Guru Sri Rajaratnam Pillai. He spent 7 years learning in the Gurukula tradition and has an insight into this that few others have. Suresh, the floor is yours. Please do share with us.
Namaskaram to everyone. Thank you for having me here. And I don't have any specific shloka or examples or any quote from Itikasa or something. I just want to share my learning experience with my guru, what all I saw, good qualities and in my guru's Gurukula. I was born into a Nagaswaram family. My father is a Nagaswaram Vidwan. My great-grandfather was a Nashtavadani from the Pandanallur lineage. I came to Chennai when I was 12 years old to learn under Guru Rajaratnam Pillai sir. Though I was closely related to the family, I followed all the disciplines of a Gurukula student. I spent about 7 years learning in Gurukula system. During my early learning years, I spent all the basics learning. And then in the second year, I started learning my repertoires. And then soon after that, I started accompanying by singing with my guru. He allowed me to sit along with him in many lecture demonstration concerts. And I observed many aspects related to his teaching style firsthand through this period of learning. To retain an overall elegant aspects approach was his foremost desire while choreographing a composition. He did not want the rhythmic element to overpower the melody inherent in the music. And I always wanted the rhythmic and melodic components to go hand in hand with each other. He had a way of displaying his brilliance by adding elements to the choreography which were slipped into the song to make it seem almost effortless. He always gave importance on the patandram, which is the appropriate form of the musical compositions. When he sang on stage, just because he was capable of singing many beautiful sangatis, he never displayed that prowess if it was not appropriate to the dance presentation.
Suresh,
Starting
if I
with
may interrupt, 1 second, sorry. I know that Pratibha ji wanted to ask something. Pratibha ji, if you could unmute, please go ahead.
I'm just trying to say it's a very unequal kind of a platform that we are seeing today, because we are not here to praise our gurus. I mean, I also had some very extraordinary gurus that I learned from, none of whom were mentioned. So we're not here to listen about the attributes of musical strength or the rhythmic expertise of Swami Malai Rajaratnamji, with all due respect. No. We are here to understand what a guru-shishya relationship is, and if you have anything new or innovative to say about it from your
And
own
Pratibha ji,
experience.
actually,
Not about rhythm and dance and his expertise in choreography, because that all of us know, and it's just a waste of time to sit here and listen to that. Thank you.
okay.
actually, Suresh, actually, I wanted to ask, you've had such a unique experience, one that many dancers haven't had. If you could share with us, what was the experience of that Guru Shishya relationship in Gurukula Vasam?
Look, relationship is like, as everybody said, it is like a parental bonding with the student and guru, and it lasts till the last breath of all of us. And the good qualities, all the good qualities they followed, only it remains with us till the end. That's the thing I want to share. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you. If anybody wanted to follow
And
up, please go ahead. I think there is a lag, Suresh. Please go ahead.
Yeah. No. Spending so many years with the guru, learning all these qualities, that is important, I think. Of course, the relationship we experience with the guru, spending so many years, and we learn all the good qualities, how the guru handles the student, how the teaching methodology, same composition teaching into a different students, and with a different choreography, with the different jatis. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very
No,
much.
it's very reassuring that there is a young artist who believes in the sanctity or the practice, that it should continue. But I want to come to this point and adding to what Pratibha said, which is that, right here, the point at hand is, as the seminar title says, whether the Guru Shishya Parampara, whether you live with the Guru or you don't live with the Guru, the merits of living with the Guru or not living with the Guru are not being explored here. What is being discussed here is the outcome of Guru Shishya relationship. I mean, and the outcome of changed circumstances, which we all acknowledge exist, on the Guru Shishya. So, to say that, to observe, you can observe the Guru, how they teach, with their intricacies of their teaching, their adaptational skills, etc. Only if you're living with a guru, I think
Yes.
is a bit of an exaggeration. I think many students of even those who do not live with gurus and spend a lot of time in the class with their gurus also observe how their gurus adapt their teaching methods to varying levels of students and various temperaments. So I think it's nice if we could, stick to this point at hand, how relevant is it? Yes or no? I mean, either ways. Thank you.
Okay.
With that, actually, I will say thank you, Suresh. I will move
Thank
on
you.
to our next professional who is joining us. This is Shipra Joshi, who is a Kathak artist who is establishing herself as a soloist. I'll just let her join us. And hello, Shipra, can you hear us?
Yes, yes, yes.
Namaste. Thank you for joining us. What has your experience of the Guru Shishya practice been?
Thank you, Meenakshi, and namaskar. My humble pranam to all the gurus present here, and thank you, Guruji, for considering me. And for today's session, I have framed some points which I would just like to read out, keeping the time limit in mind. And it starts with my perspective on the tradition. And so the Guru Shishya Parampara I feel today has evolved, and it is more of an emotional bond, a connect with not just the pupil but the Guru to develop for each other. Third, when the bond develops, the motivation to channel all your efforts to learn and to work to become a shadow of your Guru comes naturally. And once this bond develops, it remains for lifetime. And personally, I feel that this divine connect is probably even stronger than the ritual of Ganda Bandhan. And having come from a small town of Uttarakhand, my learning under this tradition started a bit late, but my perspective towards Kathak took a sea change after I came under the guidance of Guruji. And it is through her that I got an insight of what Kathak is all about, its depth, and how much more one can explore in the art form apart from chakkars and footwork. And one cannot form this connect in a moment. It takes time. So in my case, it was majorly Guruji's teaching style which brought me emotionally close to her. Usually you have an eye for the ones dancing well, but she always had a prime focus on her weaker ones, which no doubt differ my Guru from others. And she always conducted our classes in such a balanced way. And another significant point I would like to mention here is that she always worked on building a bridge between her and the students. There is no communication gap between us, and I can very strongly quote that she is the one with whom I can share my personal as well as my professional problems. And because of this, I'm so very emotionally attached to her. And lastly, coming towards the relevance of this tradition, I can say it is definitely the supreme. And it is not mere a classroom teaching, but a way to lead your life on and off stage. And no matter for how many years you are learning from a guru, this feeling comes naturally. And unless this bond of trust, love, and respect is created, it is impossible to get the real essence of your guru's teaching. Thank you.
Thank you, Shipra. Did you have any questions for any of our panelists? You've got, a collection of stellar gurus here, or
Yes.
anything that you had wanted to ask?
Yes, I would like to ask it to Pratibha ji.
Yes.
Ma'am, have you ever encountered a situation when you thought that your bond with your guru might not sustain for long due to any unforeseen event? If yes, how did you overcome it?
Chipra, well, I have to tell you, I have to be frank about this. I thought we were here to discuss the relevance of Guru Shishya Parampara in contemporary times, whether a tutor, a teacher can even qualify to be called a guru in the first place, because we know what a guru means. But we've been hearing a lot of homilies over here, nice things, lovely, sweet things. I must tell you that I learned from, many great gurus, great teachers who I didn't mention. I started with a person called Sundar Kumar, and then I went on to do training under U.S. Krishna Rao and Chandrabhaga Devi. They were a couple, so I didn't have any problem with them. They were English speaking, and they came from the same class, which I don't want to sound casteist or classist, but it's true. Like, they came from the same class as me, so it was comfortable learning from them. But from then, I moved to Srimati Kalanidhi Narayanan, who's a lady guru, and I stayed in her house, and I stayed in her house for over 10 years, and off and on, not continuously. But yes, I did all that other people are talking about, of living with a guru, and I had huge respect for her. At the same time, I used to go to a guru called V.S. Muthuswami Pillai, who was genuinely one of the greatest living Bharatanatyam gurus of this country. He was a genius. He was innovative. He was a genius. He looked at Bharatanatyam totally differently. A super guru of a super, and I thought myself to be extremely lucky to be able to go and learn from him. But after about 8-10 years, Muthuswami Pillai began falling in love with me. It's the situation of a guru who starts falling in love with a muse that he created. He thinks that he hears this dancer, a beautiful young, dancing his creations, his choreographies, and so the whole paradoxical kind of a situation of a very senior man who you respect, who you put on a pedestal, who you kind of call a guru, falling in love with you and making sexual advances towards you. So that is what happened to me. Have I confronted it? Yes, I have. And how old was I? I was 25. Did I know anything? No. Was it traumatic? It was. It was extremely traumatic, extremely anguishing. It was extremely disconcerting because I could not tell my parents about it. My parents would have stopped my dance class, my going to Chennai to be with it. I could not tell anybody. I tried telling Kalandi Narayanan auntie, whose house I was staying. She came to Sir. She didn't think it was that serious. She thought it was maybe just some sort of a verbal kind of a, advance. So she came with me to his house and told me that I was her daughter and that he should give me the respect. But the moment Kalandri auntie left, it was the same story. He would take, money from me in advance. He would teach half the item, and I would keep begging and pleading for the item to be completed because I had a performance or I had to go back to Bangalore. It was too expensive for me to stay in Chennai, without the adequate funds and stuff like that. But he would, tell me that I should go and sit on his lap. I should, and he would try and touch me inappropriately. I mean, apparently to correct my Natya Ramba position or my, posture or something like that. So yes, there is this poison also in a guru-shishya relationship. It's poisonous. It's traumatizing. It is something that, that the person who goes to the victim needs help, because it's also a mental health kind of issue because you don't know how to come out of it. And it's also a situation where everyone quotes from the shastras, from the Vedas, and like I said, all this whole idea of antiquity, tradition, cultural transmission, Vedas, and those shlokas that Mithun talked about. I mean, come on, what is Sahana Bhavatu? There's nothing Sahana Bhavatu, Sahana Ubunaktu in dance. No one teaches that in dance. It's the first time that I even heard him say that. He must have learned it much later, and he must be teaching it to his students. So I'm telling you that don't just mouth homilies. I'm sure you've had some fantastic relationships with your teachers, and that's fantastic. But there's also the other side to it, and that side also has to be discussed. And that is why I'm saying human beings are flawed, relationships are personal, experiences are extremely individualistic, and they have to be weighed on the merit of each and every relationship, each and every case. And there cannot be any wider kind of a framework given to these relationships and saying they are on a pedestal, they are holy, the man is fantastic, he sings fantastically, he creates rhythmic patterns. My guru was the best of the best, whether it be choreography or music or rhythmic patterns or innovative Bharatanatyam or anything else. And I know that I owe my dance to him. I owe everything that I do have in dance to him and to Kalanidhi Narayananji. And I'm deeply respectful of that. But I'm also deeply anguished and traumatized by what he did to me in the 90s when I was a young girl. And well, anyway, the Me Too movement started in India very, very late, just 4 or 5 years ago. So I think most of you are protected by the Me Too movement. But I spoke of this in 1995 when I said that there are some gurus who expect sex as Guru Dakshina. So can we please speak about it? Can we please bring that out in the open and be honest and truthful? Because we're not here to waste each other's time talking about the greatness and the beauty of this relationship, which of course it is for some who are lucky.
Pratibha-ji, thank you very much. I mean, that is, it's so important that we do bring out experiences of this kind, because they really touch at the heart of why so many people can be confused about this Guru-Shishya relationship, what it dictates and what it necessitates. Thank you for sharing so much with us. Shipra, thank you very much. I'll move on to the next dancer who is joining us. This is Kasi Aisola. He is a Kuchipudi and Bharatanatyam dancer. He's working in the United States. Namaste, Kasi. Good morning to you. Kasi, you had spoken to me prior to this session, and you talked about how the Guru-Shishya relationship works at a time when teaching and learning practices are changing so fast. What are your thoughts?
Namaste, everyone. Thank you for having me. So because of time, I wrote something very short, and I'll read it. I know, Pratibhaji, we were on a certain note with the place you took it, and I kind of reflected on that, but it might go a little away from that. But I'll just read what I wrote. So, having been a product of what I consider a Guru Sishya Parampara, I've often reflected back on my learning in order to understand what molded me. I grew up learning dance in Los Angeles for over 15 years. It was immersive and engulfed my thoughts, body, and most of my time. Many of my classmates, however, just learned as a weekly affair, and yet for me, it was an entry point into what I would see as my life's calling. These thoughts are a reflection from this launching point. Is the Guru Sishya Parampara relevant today, where dance classes are once a week and learning arts is often a hobby? Most children take dance classes as a form of cultural learning or mere fitness that their parents usually sign them up for. Due to this and other reasons, the seriousness and intent with which students learn has changed severely. As well, the qualifications and intent of the teachers has also changed. I think as times change, so should practices surrounding arts. With the culture of workshops, guest teachers, intensives, and mentorships, we find ourselves in a crossroad. Is there still space for a single-minded focus and dedication to one thought process, one teacher, even one aesthetic? Are we able to adhere to the strict one-on-one relationship that the Guru Sishya Parampara relationship prescribes? Or should we be shifting into new formats of teaching which allow the student to learn but also cross-pollinate with the globally connected world? There have also been abuses and injustices that have occurred under the guise of the Guru Sishya Parampara. We have to navigate this space as well. The privilege and space that the Guru occupies has to be re-examined, as well as the Sishya. In doing so, will we lose the deep connection between teacher and taught? Will the process of learning now become transactional rather than deeply personal in order to allow a safer environment? Although many may not value this Guru Sishya Parampara, is it still not vital to inspire a sliver of students like myself who may take on dance careers to continue pursuing arts in a serious manner? It is rare now to see students of dance even taking up careers as artists. And for those few, this rigorous Guru Sishya Parampara training system is integral for them. For this reason, I do stand for the Guru Sishya Parampara in regards that in order to grow into an artist, we must have a deep-rooted learning, but at what cost? And I believe that you can only be handed down this art by a master teacher. There is no other way to cultivate even the brightest mind.
Kasi, thank you. Swapnaji, you had wanted to say something, please?
I'd like to respond to Kasi Aisola on this. It's wonderful to see a young man, a young dancer, repose faith in an ancient system. Nevertheless, I think there is also a little bit of a mystique about what the Guru Shishya Parampara is. I'm not here to explain it to the senior panelists here because they all understand it. But for the sake of the young man who believes that in its relevance, I would like to throw a little more light as to, because you see, Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Deva Maheshwara has one level of meaning, but there is another shloka which relates to the same concept. It is Akhanda Mandalakaram Vyaptam Yena Characharam Tat Padam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. There's an interesting interpretation of this shloka, the operative part of which is the salutation Namaha. And this is to be understood by everybody who attempts to eulogize or who believes in, really genuinely believes in the Guru Shishya Parampara. We really need to revisit this idea of what is the Guru Shishya Parampara? What are we talking about right now? When I admire Pratibha Prahlad for having shared with us her trauma and her experience, because the trauma is not just based on the fact that inappropriate advances were made by a person who's old enough to be her father, but the trauma is based on the shattering of a faith on the shattering of a particular trust which is reposed in the institution of the Guru. And that is the institution that is being examined here. And this inappropriate touch is one of the Panchamaha Papas, which have been defined in our Shastras. To think of a conjugation with the Shishya or the Guru is one of the Panchamaha Papas. And of course, as Pratibha earlier said, that has happened in the past, it has happened in history, and these are fallible human people, human beings who are not infallible. So we need to be really looking at that instead of, exalting the Guru to this unrealistic set of expectations. I want to interpret the shloka from this perspective. There is an interesting interpretation related to Namaha. Now, divine energy is all pervasive, right? It's indestructible and manifest in both moving and non-moving forms. That is what the shloka says. Vyaptam yena characharam. The Guru represents this divine energy, as per this shloka and other shlokas from this stotra. Hence, I say, na maha. This is what the Shishya is saying, or the one who's chanting is saying. Hence, I say, na maha, and surrender my ego to that Guru who evokes the realization of my own truth. There cannot be one truth for everybody. There is just your particular truth. Your Guru, our Guru, my Guru, her Guru, everybody's Guru can only be one preceptor. You cannot have a number of preceptors giving you a number of truths. There is only one truth, and that is your truth. Number one. By saying na ma, na ma, na ma, I negate consciousness of my body. Please listen carefully. This is what it means. I negate consciousness of my body, of my limbs, organs, senses, emotions, intellect, and intuition, as these are not of my creation. This is what you're saying. They are not mine. This is what we are committing to. Please understand. The direction of my life is no longer determined by my will. That is what you're committing to. By uttering the releasing sound, ha, I let go of the darker side of my nature, since it blocks my spiritual evolution. By releasing my baser energies, I can access the higher energy of my Guru, which implies, implicit in that is that the Guru is of higher energy, which will lead me, yes, I'll just finish this, Kasi, and I'll come back to you, which will lead me towards that super energy, which is higher than even the Guru. Higher than me is the Guru. Higher than the Guru is the super energy, which is indivisible, universal, and suffuses the whole of creation. That is what you call God, Paramatma, whatever Shakti. I salute that self-realized Guru who has revealed to me the essence of true knowledge by liberating my spirit and mind in this way. This is the commitment that we are making by reading these shlokas. Now, in today's day and age, the dynamics of the relationship between teacher and taught are very, very different from those which govern this kind of Guru-Shishya relationship that is being spoken of here, right? So far as the performing arts are concerned, presently this relation is seen to be bereft of its central purpose, which is based on what? Which is based on the idea of spiritual and intellectual growth. We have been only talking about technique, how fine a Guru is, how wonderful they are, how tolerant they are, how finely they craft the students. The Guru principle is based on spiritual and intellectual growth. And spiritual and intellectual component is embedded in the study of the arts. It is a very long route to that. So, practice of fine arts is called sadhana. Here's the question about workshops. You just raised that. Workshops, visiting gurus, mentorship, what have you. We're all part of that. But sadhana is at the bottom, at the base of the Guru-Shishya relationship and parampara. So, practice of the fine arts is called sadhana, whose goal is self-actualization. In management terms, it's called self-actualization. Sadhana is a continuous mental and spiritual discipline. It's a mental and spiritual discipline ideally pursued under guidance from a single preceptor. So, when today we have a situation where we cannot, due to all the reasons which have been discussed on this panel, either commit to be that single preceptor, I'm taking the onus on ourselves, the Guru, the seniors as well, nor can we expect the students, as can be seen, to stick to that single preceptor, what are we discussing? We are not discussing the ideal Guru Shishya relationship. For heaven's sake, we all value it. We love it. We love that concept. That's why we went to study the fine arts. But we have been disillusioned, some of us by our gurus, some of us by our Shishyas. Let's talk about it frankly. Let's talk about it, no holds barred. Why are we here eulogizing something that's been eulogized for centuries and will continue to be eulogized? I appreciate your reposing your faith in the essence of the Guru Shishya Parampara, but is it being implemented? Do we see examples of it? Please point out. We'd love to learn, even though we're senior. We've lived longer on earth than all of you. Please, youngsters, tell us, where do you see this being manifest in its true essence, in its with the embedded principles on display through the student, through the relationship? Please tell us.
Yes, Kasi, please go ahead and unmute yourself. I know you've got a response.
I mean, my question was a little related in the sense where I was going to ask, if you do prescribe to what you believe is the system, of course, I had to cinch my thoughts into 2 minutes. So of course there's things left out, but the idea that it's a modern interpretation, it's absolutely not what you're saying, Swapnaka, which I completely agree with. We have shifted, we have changed. There are so many things to take into consideration when we talk about Guru Sishya Parampara. But my question actually was, at what point does the student leave the Guru if that relationship is there, or should they be leaving the Guru? And I mean today, because we see, the idea of even dancing, most people either do it for a hobby, or the ones that are performing are like, okay, I have an X amount of time to do this and I go into my professional space. So when do you leave the Guru is my question. If you consider yourself a part of this tradition, even in a modern sense, that is not necessarily the inception or the same concept as what it used to be. When do you leave, if you do leave at all? When do you become individualistic? And actually it was for Pushkala Aunty, because I think my understanding of this process is very Western in the way I learned, in the way I grew up and how I danced. So I think it might relate, but I'm not sure.
So if we talk about spiritual growth and sustenance, regardless of what you do in life, the bond between a true guru and a true disciple never breaks. It's beyond this life. And it's beyond whether you went and did somebody else's choreography and came back, or whether you changed your style temporarily. Those are all peripheral. It's the nurturing of it's a symbiotic relationship. And if it's fallen in place, you feel like a nesting bird whenever you touch the Guru. And the fact that that's your home, it's your agam, as they say in Tamil. It's part of your being. It's part of your innermost being. And wherever you are, whenever you touch that Guru, the relationship goes back to the same level of unison. And of course, a Guru can have many disciples like that. So it's you and me and no one else. So with every relationship of a true Guru, and Swapna, you have a few pupils like that, don't you, who love you from afar, even if they're not dancing.
I don't think they love me because of my the dance skills that I've imparted. I think they got to know me, and the bond was formed in spite of my having been their Guru, not because of it.
Kasi, thank you very much. If there was more time, we would have had a longer discussion, but thank you. The last dancer joining us today is the youngest who is joining our panel. This is Aishwarya Shrikant. She's a Kuchipudi dancer who is looking to forge a career in the arts. Aishwarya, namaste.
Thank you, Meenakshi ji.
Please go ahead.
Shri Guru Namaha. Good evening to the esteemed panelists. I'd like to get to the point. I believe that the Guru Sishya tradition to exist, it has to exist, provided it is given a dynamic and an all-pervasive form and perspective for it to be relevant to both the Guru and the Sishya along with the changing times. So I'd like to focus on the modern perspective of what complete surrender of the Sishya means. According to the Parampara, complete surrender of Shishya includes Shishya's establishment of trust and investment of time and energy with the Guru. Uh, and again, changing times call for a change in tradition and cultural evolution as well. So, in the present scenario where the art forms are considered to be extracurricular, especially someone from the 2000s, I think it is always extracurricular for us, and nobody would allow us to take it up professionally at home as well. The Guru Sishya Parampara here takes its own form. So neither the teacher nor the student has got enough time to dedicate, owing to the other day to day activities to be performed by them. So here the tradition should allow for flexibility and change so as to fulfill the most pressing need of the hour rather than focusing on the tradition, because the time frame here is pretty limited. So if there's a student who would like to pursue it professionally, the guru, he or she should be allowed to spend more time with the guru and learn the deeper aspects of the art form. And um, and if there is someone who would likes, I mean, who would like to nurture it as an hobby, I think the training aspect for them can be condensed and prioritized. So the need-based application of the parampara takes a very significant form here. And keeping that in mind, the contemporary aspect of Shishya's surrender to the Guru is about trust, about dedication, and letting the Guru help the Shishya realize his creative ability rather than the Guru rubbing off his perspective of the Shishya, his perspective of the art form, or the Shishya not being open to the flow of ideas propelled by the Guru. So I'd like to rest my case with a belief that the Guru Shishya tradition is imperative and has to be altered systematically, allowing for flexibility to seep into it to the advantage of both the Guru and Shishya. Thank you.
Thank you, Aishwarya. If I may ask, Prerna ji, for example, Aishwarya has talked about modifying the Guru Shishya relationship to suit the needs of the individual Guru and the individual Shishya. What are your thoughts on that? Is that possible? Is that what you'd advocate?
Yeah, I think it is possible because I was really very touched about Pratibhaji's account because I was not very much aware of that. And thank you, Pratibhaji, for sharing this. And yes, I think there is a possibility because what I found, because there was a long communication gap between me and my guru because of the age and I don't know, we grew up like that. So we could not ask any question to our guru because the questions were no. We could not write anything. We could not question anything. And forget about the recording or anything because those facilities were not there. But so I think because of that, somewhere back of the mind, I was just thinking about building a bridge between guru and the shishya, or the teacher or the disciple, whatever. So I think there can be a bridge between guru and shishya because the teaching, when you are learning, there is a certain distance. But apart from that, the shishya can come and talk and just share whatever he or she wants. Because, and I am practicing this and quite successfully. Because all my students, I'm just building the bridge between them, and I think that is the most important thing. And this is this can be, and I think who said that, if you like Pushkala ji, I think said that if you are going somewhere else, you go, because if you love something, set it free, because if it comes back, it's yours. Otherwise, it never was. So you just fly on, because one of my student wanted to learn flamenco. I said, fine, go and learn. And she came back because she wanted to be in Kathak on her own, because I can't pursue her that learn this and learn that. because I don't believe in it. So I think the bridge between the Guru and Shishya of the communication is important. And I think that is possible.
Thank you, Prerna ji. Aishwarya, thank you very much. And thank you also to all the other, the four who joined us and shared their thoughts. This is the point at which we'd like to take some of the questions that have come to us from the audience. There have been some interesting ones on YouTube, and I hope that we can show this first question that we have received. We received it in a YouTube comment, and I'll read it out now. Many people have not specified who they would like to answer, so I will take the initiative to direct it to a panelist, but obviously, should anyone want to come in, please do ask. This comment is talking about this title of the Guru, because they say that not only do people take it on, but sometimes the ICC, that is India's own cultural body, actually encourages people to use this title of Guru. If I may, I would like to direct this question first to Alekhya ji. I'd like to hear your thoughts on it, and then I will open it up as well. Alekhya ji, please.
As we've heard this discussion before also, the using the title of Guru for every sort of training, and especially more so in dance. And teachers coming from different backgrounds, belonging to different levels of training, and still calling them Gurus. So I think none of us advocate to this, and we don't per se are comfortable comfortable about using the term Guru for everybody. To become a Guru, I think it takes quite many years to come to that level where you can connect with the student not just through the art form, but in several other ways. And I think the youngsters who are teaching, who have just graduated, who have just learned Amargam, should be teachers and not gurus, and wait for the time when they can graduate. Like in every other field, there is always a promotion from one level to the other, and they should really wait, strive for that promotion to becoming a guru.
Thank you. Yes, Swapna ji.
I'd like to just join, here with Alekhya about who determines when a person has graduated to the status of a guru. Is there a pecking order, or is there a number of years, or a manifest sort of behavior, or an extra reposing of faith by the disciples, or who bestows the title? I mean, is there a system? Have we thought about it? Because you see, you have a very valid point, and I agree that everybody can't be called a guru. In fact, yesterday I got an email, I said, please don't address me as a guru. I'm very allergic to that myself, being applied to me. Because in my experience, I'm just sharing, in my experience, I have taught many. Some of them have become very fine dancers. Most of them are fairly good performers. But I do not have a Shishya. I will say this publicly. I do not have a Shishya, by whose manifest display of whatever she or he has learned from me, I could take my pride in myself as a guru. I have been a good, effective trainer, imparter of a skill, a particular set of skills, and information systems. I do not call myself a guru until I see the reflection of my philosophy, my vision, besides my skills, in one disciple. Until that happens, I do not like to employ the term guru for myself. I don't know. I mean, I'm allergic to it for myself. I'm not saying everybody should be, but I am. The point I'm trying to make is there a system or some parameters by which we can actually, say this one is a guru and this is not? I go back to my first submission that the guru is the most bandied term. It is an export concept. It's been exported, it's been wrapped, it's been packaged, it's been sold, it's been promoted. That is how, and as a part of the larger Indian mystique. And we really need to look at this as women, dancers, teachers, with, living in present times, instead of getting wrapped up in the mystique again and again and again and perpetuating the same mystique. So therefore, who, let's break it down to the nitty-gritty. Who determines who is a guru? Only the disciple determines by and how, not by saying my guru is so great, they're wonderful, they have lovely teaching, this thing, that thing, I'm very comfortable. I stay overnight in their house, I have lovely food with her, whatever, I go on picnics. No, that's fine. I mean, I love my students at that level. They also, some of them love me. And there are lots of, all of us have students who love to be with them to go to shopping or something else. But that doesn't make me a guru. It just makes me a very friendly teacher. So therefore, I think we need to really pin down on whether we really need this term. Do we need this term? I mean, there are lots of things that have existed in the past. Let's respect it. Let's give it its due reverence and whatever, veneration, and leave it be. Why are we tying ourselves up in knots, trying to sort of re-engage with it, bring it back, make it relevant, when from all perspectives, the embedded principles of it seem very difficult to implement, both for the teacher and the taught. This is my angst. They are difficult to implement in today's day and age, and we're not going to go back there, not the way I see it. The way, so I think that the crux of the problem is that question was a very good one. It's also the projection of, these pillars of Indian culture, the way it is gift wrapped and sold, even by our official systems, which are meant, I mean, we have Guru Shishya Parampara schemes, fellowships, something else, organizations who kind of involve teachers like me or performers of note to go and spend 2-3 days in a camp where, a few people come. And all that's happening is they're teaching items, basically, and eating together. Let's please not get lost in this maze of mystical, exotica. Please, this is the idea of a webinar, because so many webinars have taken place on Guru Shishya Parampara, and we don't have to idolize the same thing over and over again. I mean, I'm sorry, Alekhya, it's not meant for you. I was just expressing my angst about who determines what is a guru. Who should be determining? Does the guru declare himself or herself to be a guru just because they're engaged in teaching an art form? Or does the Shishya, by her or his realization of that sort, intellectual, spiritual growth, say, that is the person or persona who's made a difference to me and given me my direction? And there's a very famous saying, the guru can take you up to the door, but you have to open it yourself. And so you have to open it, you have to be prepared, you have to be fertile ground, you have to have the strength. And it requires enormous strength to be a disciple. So let's it isn't easy at all. It's a very demanding thing.
I meant by a guru somebody who's just kind of training you in a particular art form or a craft, but somebody who can give you an encompassing kind of a direction to your life, and who himself has evolved, learned what is it about life, and is able to show the way. And for that, it takes years of our own self-discipline, our own sadhana, to come to that level where we can also help the student and show them the way. So that, hence I said you have to wait for quite some time.
Prerna ji.
I just want to submit one thing, that in Kathak tradition, there used to be a kind of a tradition follows, like if you have a number of Shishyas, you will become a guru. Then if you have number of Shishya, you will become a Nayak. Then if you another number of Shishya, you will become Maharaj. Those were the traditions. And now we are born with that. We born with the titles of Guru or Maharaj or anything. So it was not there at all in any of the traditions. And like Alekhya ji is saying, that they evolved. And I think the Guru becomes only when the Shishya wants them to become Guru. That's what I feel.
Thank you very much, Prerna ji. This actually leads on just to the next question, and I will come to Pratibha ji actually for the answer in the initial instance. This was written by somebody on YouTube in the comment section. And it actually came, Pratibha ji, when you were speaking. I think they were referring to some of the experiences you were talking about. And they were talking about the sanctity of the relationship between Guru and Shishya and how that's been tarnished. If you could pick up on this notion of sanctity and how true that is, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I read this question and I know I understand it, but in all its import. What I wish to say is Exactly as Swapna ji said, I abhor the word guru in the context of dance and music. It's a training. I mean, it's a training process. Somebody is training you, physically training you, teaching you some dance items, teaching you some choreographies. And just because the person is also teaching you Ashtapadis and talking about Jivatma and Paramatma, it does not make the person, a guru. Or nor is the person who talks about Jivatma and Paramatma and Moksha and, those kinds of principles set you on the path of moksha or moksha or spiritual growth. So having said this, I think that the word is completely misused. It's bandied about loosely by everybody who wants to hide behind this this kind of a hoary antiquity that we claim for ourselves and for our dance, and who wants to hide behind behind the pedestal that people put them on the moment they call themselves guru, because then they don't have to respond to everyday questions and everyday answers in the manner that normal ordinary people do. So you don't ask a guru the same questions that you ask a friend, or you ask a teacher, or you ask an acharya, or you ask a trainer. So because of that, and because they don't have the answers, and because they themselves, like I repeatedly say, are human beings on earth, they are not Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, they are not Parabrahma. They are human beings and they have all the wiles of human beings. So am I. I'm also completely flawed. So with all these kinds of issues that we have with our our lives, I think we should do away with the word guru, not make it into this kind of an export quality kind of a hoary and sacred, sacrosanct kind of a term, which is unquestionable, unquestioning, and puts and unequal, and it does not set accountability on the on the teacher, on whoever calls himself a guru is not accountable in that space for that relationship, and therefore it's unequal and unjust. So having said this, I really believe, I mean, all of us love our teachers. Like I said, I also had Professor U.S. Krishna Rao and Chandrabhaga Devi, who I loved very much, who loved me as their child. I also had Srimati Kalanidhi Narayanan as my guru, in whose house I stayed, who I love very much and who treated me like her child. I also had Dr. Vemparichan Satyam as a guru, where I used to go to his institution, learn and get out. I mean, it was okay. It was a perfectly decent relationship. And this particular guru, who also I loved, even today I love him, despite whatever happened between us, Guru V.S. Muthuswami Pillai. He was a great genius of dance. But I'm not trying to de-sanctify. I'm only trying to demystify, as Swapna ji said. Demystify it. Be real. Be clear. Be candid about what your relationship is. Love your teachers. Please love your teachers. Impose, your trust in them, and do what they ask you to do until a point when you cannot do what they ask of you, or when you cannot, and your own spirit, your mind and your heart is saying, this is against my being, I can't do it. So when that happens, and stand up for yourselves, speak out for yourselves. Don't let anybody hide behind this shrouded mystery called guru, shishya, parampara, and all that. These are very, very, very loaded words. A guru, as Swapna ji mentioned time and again, is an extremely enormous and loaded kind of a term for a person who's evolved to a spiritual being, who can be on a spiritual plane. That is a guru. And a shishya also needs to be in that space, in this kind of a space where people are coming to learn dance from you, they're eating with you, they're shopping with you, they're traveling with you for overseas performances. And yeah, it's fun, it's fine. We have a mutually fantastic kind of a time, and we're teaching them. They are, some of them are paying us, some not, doesn't matter. It's a internal kind of an arrangement, and you're happy in that space. Why put this person that you respect into the sphere of gurudom? I call it gurudom. And Prerna, I just wanted to Prerna ji, I just wanted to tell you that everybody who comes on stage, Kathak dancers, go on saying, my guru said, my guru said, my guru said, and keeps touching their ears, and I find it so irritating. I'm telling you. I mean, I keep saying, why are you touching your ears? For God's sake, it's okay. I mean, it's fine. You are professional dancers, working on the platform, and performing vis-a-vis like a Chinese opera or a classical ballet from Russia, or some dance performers from anywhere else. But we Indians, the moment we go on stage, my guru said, my guru said, my guru said, my guru. I mean, why are you doing this? Why are you putting yourselves like
I never approve that. I never approve that. I never ask any student to do that. I ask my student not to do it, because you are not putting. Why to do it?
Yeah.
Because you are not doing any sin or anything wrong to take the name of your guru.
I mean, okay, fine. The guru has taught you something.
Because
but don't
from the Muslim.
May I respond, Pratibha, just to that point? You see, the thing is, when this gesture comes from a place of sincerity, where you really believe that even uttering the name of a guru is something that you must atone for, if it comes from that space, one doesn't have a problem with it. But what is happening is that they care two hoots for whoever the guru is, right? Many people who do this are not all, many of them are doing it out of it's a kind of a customary thing, which is not. It's not even
they used to do
some
this.
People, these are sort of empty gesticulations that don't really mean anything, because it is not backed by that conviction. So it becomes a little farcical, I think.
Yeah, it is. That's why I said exhibitionist. Why are you being exhibitionist about your love?
I never appreciate that.
Whatever, I mean, your love and your respect for your guru is an internal thing between you and the guru, and both the teacher and the taught know that sanctity and that sanctimonious bond that you have with your students. But I really believe that this word guru should not be bandied about loosely, because it's everybody's a guru now. I mean, my people who have learned from me are also gurus, and their own children, their own students are also gurus. So I have grandchildren who are gurus. I'm not a guru myself, and I really don't like that word guru. I call myself an educator. Like I said, you transmit knowledge, which is fine, which is fantastic, but I don't think we should, shroud it in mystery anymore. We should be a little more honest about ourselves and honest about the art that we practice.
Yes, Alekhya ji?
I would like to say here that, yes, the term guru that we are talking about is probably used too often at different levels for different people. And the kind of guru we expect, we don't see anymore. Fine, but I feel that unfortunate things happen in almost all the fields. It's not just in dance. It happens everywhere, in office space, in every field you hear about this. So probably dance gives more chance, for this kind of a misconduct between the teacher and the taught, unfortunately, and especially when it is a man and it's a male and a female. But generally, when it's the teacher is a female, the relationship is probably much more different, a little more pleasant. There may be other issues, but then this kind of a misconduct probably doesn't creep in. And especially in dance, this relationship is kind of perceived very differently, both by the teacher and the student. So there are spaces where you still feel, the sacredness of this particular relationship, and probably, still we perceive it in the similar way.
Thank you. Yes, Swapnaji. And then actually, Swapnaji, once you are done, the next question is also specifically for you. So please, once you are done.
Okay, no, but I just want to respond to Alekhya ji, about the fact that there are different type of teachers, different type of students. There are ethics which are implicit and explicit. There are translating the Guru Shishya principle to a recasting teaching method now, as has partially happened in the academics, but privately, even in private tuition, it requires a different kind of a recasting of this relationship. There is a role and responsibility of the teacher. There is also a role and responsibility of the student. We have not talked about any of this yet. But I want to respond to this one point where she felt that perhaps the problem happens when the teacher and taught are of two different genders, but the problem is reduced, or probably not, it does not exist between a female teacher and a female student. I beg to differ. Actually, there is a new set of problems, and I can speak from experience. I speak from experience, having taught a number of people in Kuchipudi and a number of people in Vilasini Natyam as well. What actually happens is that and there is a peculiar situation which affects the teacher who is also a successful performer and is in form. There is a very peculiar set of problems that plague the relationship between the person who goes to learn from a teacher, a dance teacher, a female dance teacher, who is a dancer of standing and renown and also has many years of dancing left. When that happens, it starts with a kind of a professed base of trust and loyalty. It shifts into a position of insecurity, mostly in the disciple, sometimes also in the teacher. It goes on to a level where you do not really see the teacher in a position of sort of, the teacher is there ahead of you just because she's older, she started first, she's there because she started out first. But had I started out, I would have been just as good. Then it comes to complacence. And I'm talking plain speak. I'm talking from my experience. And I know that disciples, while under training from me, have advised some of the other disciples, well, how long will I be here? If I want to become a banyan tree, I cannot grow under this banyan tree. There may be partial truth in that, but you chose to come to this banyan tree. If you had that perception of it, you shouldn't have come. You come and plant yourself, then you flower, you grow, and then you want to disengage, and then you go somewhere else. No problem with that. As Prernaji said, be liberal, let it go. But there's no problem. We are prepared to let go of anybody at any time. Okay? But do not give yourself the license, and do not assume the mantle of the inheritor of that particular teacher's legacy, because you have no right to do that. You must be very clear. When you opt to leave the company of a teacher because of certain insecurities, certain problem areas, whatever they might be, then make sure that you do not use that name and you do not use that credibility of that teacher as a license to promote yourself and inherit or claim, and sometimes even vociferously proclaim that you are the inheritor of that mantle. This has happened in the past, it is happening now. And I think I will tell you this is happening in my very direct experience. And I have very strong objections to this, ethical objections, moral objections. There may be no legal objections. We're not even getting into that area. We need another webinar. In the digital age, we're talking about a lot of confiscation of ideas, of intellectual property, done left, right, and center by those who are also trained by you and those who are not trained by you. That is a separate issue. We will not touch that. It's a big issue. But there is a peculiar trouble, a peculiar kind of a virus that affects the psychological linkage between a successful performing dancer who is also a teacher and an aspirant, a talented female aspirant who wants to get there one day faster, and then it would take if the guru was to be the visionary of her career path. The last I want to say is the guru no longer is actually trusted. There is a trust deficit. There's a huge trust deficit. And the guru is no longer even required to suggest a career path. You are already limited in your role. All you have to do is to give them skills. All you have to do is to give them skills, how to walk onto the stage, how to perform, how to present yourself, how to inspire confidence, how to groom them. And then, of course, it's the mother or the husband or the brother or the uncle or the father or a patron who will determine that person's career path. The guru is done or the teacher is done. This is reality and it is happening right now. We need to face this situation, recognize it, share it, and I'm doing that.
Just one it's Swapnaji's thing.
Yeah, sorry, I was going to direct something, another question at you, but please do go ahead.
Just one thing, that what you are saying, Swapnaji, even where the situation becomes more pathetic when the student just steal your thought and says that this is my thought. That becomes very, very painful. That whatever you think and you impart with them, they used to talk and say that that's what I'm thinking, that's what I thought. That becomes very painful.
I had a student who would sit in the class when I was teaching Abhinaya or performing Abhinaya with a little notebook and would be writing, furiously writing every little thing. One day I noticed this. I said, "What are you doing?" "No, nothing. I'm just making notes." I said, "Instead of making notes, you see, why don't you watch?
Yeah.
Why do you make notes? How useful are these notes? Not just in the classroom. When I had a stage performance, this girl would sit there and make little notes, tiny, tiny notes, dreams and dreams. We've all made notes when we learn from Kalanidhin Mami or others, but we don't refer to those notes. We internalize what we've learned and then we bring it out, we transform it. This kind of approach is, and then of course, as you rightly said, recently one of my ex-students posted that I have thought of introducing Pochampalli. It occurred to me that it is so appropriate for Vilasini Natyam because Pochampalli is, worn by, made in Telangana, and then, the Odisha technique and Vilasini is so close to, oh my God, give me a break. I mean, please be original at least. It's pathetic.
That's what I'm saying. That it's so painful and pathetic. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
We have had about a really wide-ranging discussion here. We have 10 minutes before we wrap up. It's going to be 10:30 in India. I just wanted to ask, we have 10 minutes. I'd like to go across the panelists and just see if there are any closing thoughts that we'd like to share. I'll go in the order that we started initially. Pushkalaji, as we wrap up, any particular takeaways from this conversation, this discussion?
Well, in my opening statement, I defined myself as doing the work of a teacher. So that's something I'm in total harmony with the other views, that we do that. But I also feel that I must share here that because a huge part of my teaching life has been in a country where the guidelines and practices for what is good teaching, good ways of dealing with students, and you actually get coached on those aspects of what you share, and matching that up with the traditional inputs I've received has always been something that I've done. I've worked with both together, but I just have to say that when you come to some of the painful stories and frankly very honest stories we've been hearing, those can only be heard if they're first-hand. When they're not first-hand, in terms of the practices in the scene, somebody like me has had no experience of that side of life at all, and that's why I've been humbly silent. But I've been greatly enriched on lots of different levels with all the discussions and the areas that have been aired. So I want to thank everybody here and Sanjayji for giving me this window.
Thank you, Pushkalaji. Prernaji, any thoughts in closing?
I just want to submit one thing, that I'm fortunate enough to not to have any of the bitter experiences with my Guruji, and that's why I can't imagine anything of that kind. And whatever I have seen when I went to Kathak Kendra, Delhi. Then only I could see something which was completely out of this world for me, that I could not imagine that anything could happen of that kind. But as a student, I was fortunate enough. And when I started teaching, then few things came, like I just said about the few students, and that's it. Otherwise, I think my life as a dancer and as a professional and as a teacher or as a guru or whatever, is quite smooth in that sense. And so I think that, and I firmly believe in this tradition. And I think there is always a way out. And we have to just open up and we have to talk and we have to converse. I think conversation and sharing thought is very important with your own generation and with the elder ones. I think that is the key point. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me here. Thanks.
Thank you, Prernaji. Pratibhaji, any thoughts before we wrap up?
You don't have any more questions, or anybody else asking questions?
There were a couple, but they got quite well covered in some of the discussions that you had. And given that we have 5 minutes before we wrap up for today, because it's nearly 10:30 there, I just wanted to go around and ask if there were any last thoughts that you wanted to add to the discussion.
Okay, so what I have to say to people who are watching or are going to watch this is that I would respect you more if you were honest, and if your honesty and transparency came out, as well as your dance did or your music did. Because an unauthentic or an inauthentic human being who dances beautifully or sings beautifully is of no interest to me, because it just shows the hypocrisy of what the medium is doing to you. Having said that, I want to say that I do believe that the term guru, like Swapnaji said, the term Shishya, the term Parampara, these are all very, very enormous words with a lot of meaning, lot of latent meaning, lot of cultural meaning, lot of meaning in terms of tradition and transmission of that tradition. So they have to be examined, have to be re-examined time and again, every couple of years, and people have to come to an understanding of what this is, because the perpetuating of a lie is what we are doing right now in the name of Guru Shishya Parampara, and I don't want to be party to perpetuate a lie. If however beautiful it sounds, however exotic it sounds, however ancient it sounds, it should not be a lie, it should be the truth. So I would rather that we have a relationship of the teacher and the taught and be honest about it. And secondary, I mean, what is most important, in the dance space, in the music space, we do not have any forum where there can be a redressal of grievances of either the dancers or the musicians or the teachers, because all of us have our own grievances. And like I said, there should be a community that addresses these grievances, that can, take charge of the either the child, the student, the teenager, the young woman, or the teacher who feels exploited, who is in this exploitative kind of a space. So we do not have that. A, we don't have that forum for redressal of grievances. B, we do not know where to go when that thing happens to us, who to go to and what to say, because we think that we're going to be judged by people when we say that this happened to us. The first thing that happens is that people judge you, that you must be the one who kind of instigated this. You must have done something for this to happen. So you're constantly living in shadows. You're constantly living with self-doubt. You're constantly living trying to validate yourself. So I think we should, as senior practitioners of this art, we should have a fora that can address these grievances, both of the students and of the gurus, and only then can we hope to move forward in some direction, whatever it be, but it's in a contemporary direction. And also tell the world that you're learning from a dance teacher, you're learning Indian dance, and Indian dance is beautiful because it's an introduction to Indian culture, Indian religion, Indian customs, Indian norms, Indian philosophy, Indian architecture, Indian poetry, Indian music, and the whole idea of how you carry yourself and cultural transmission through the dance itself. But to call it anything else is being dishonest, and I don't want to partake in this dishonesty anymore. And I'm really so happy to hear all the panelists come forth and express their views. Swapna ji is a good friend of mine, so I've known her views for a long time, and I respect her for her candor and for her honesty. But today, I also heard Prerna speak. I heard Pushkala ji, I heard Alekhya ji, and I'm really happy that they're equally forthright with their comments and with their opinions and with what they have to say. And I do implore all of you that you have to consider having a forum where anybody who has a grievance, who has been abused, who has been, misused, like you said, it happens in every field. Yes, it does. But other fields have a forum for redressal of these kinds of, abuse or grievance or whatever. We don't. And because this is largely a, feminist space, it's not only abuse between the guru and the shishya. Sometimes it's abuse between the promoters and the dancers and the musicians. Sometimes it's bureaucracy. Sometimes it's the ministers. God knows who they are out there. So we have to make our students strong enough and honest enough to be able to come somewhere and speak about it. Only then can we think about moving forward, as a group, as a group with honesty and carry forth our responsibility to the future generation.
Thank you very much, Pratibha ji. Alekhya ji, your thoughts?
Yeah, I would really, wholeheartedly agree with this idea of having a forum where, any kind of abuse or whatever, any problems that these students, practitioners, or whoever it might be, musicians, who can come and voice their concerns, and there can be a body which can help them out through these difficult situations. Coming to the Guru Shishya Parampara, as I submitted earlier, I feel for those serious students who really want to carry on in the field of dance, who want to take the tradition forward, or are serious students wanting to engage in dance for through their lifetime, I think then this Guru Shishya Connect is very, very important, and it makes some kind of a difference. And for the others, as I said, we are all teachers and they're all learners, and this relationship, I think that is a larger section, who come and just learn for the sake of learning and really don't have that seriousness towards the art form. There are very few who have this kind of seriousness and who want to take it forward, get involved in dance completely. And for them, then this relationship is very important, because the guru with the responsibility can show them the way, and they can carry whatever. They will have the credibility, they have this lineage, or the single-minded responsibility or teaching from the guru, and they can move forward. But for the others, yes, we are just teachers, and we will continue to do so. We'll continue to teach them and take them to whatever distance they're willing to walk along with us. And thank you for having me here. And it was wonderful listening to all the esteemed panelists, and hope we have such discussions, more such discussions in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Alekhya ji. Swapna ji, your thoughts, please, in closing.
Am I unmuted now? Yeah, so it's been a very, very enriching discussion, and all of them I have known well over the years. But today, on this topic of Guru Shishya Parampara, the relationship, there have been very interesting, honest views that have come forth. I want to conclude my own presentation by saying that this is not something that I feel can be wrapped up in one webinar or two webinars. I think this is an ongoing, a matter of ongoing relevance, not just of interest, but also relevance, especially in this new ecosystem called the digital world, which I return to. I think we need systems. We need to put in place, as Pratibha ji suggested, we need to put in place a forum which will define clearly amongst, by consensus or by at least some thoughtful process, what the role and responsibility of the student is, just as the role and responsibility of guru has been expanded upon in limitless ways in our traditional literature. Nobody has fixed the role and responsibility of a student. In traditional literature, yes, but in today's context, they are the ones who are supposed to take the art forward. But in what manner, with what kind of ethics? Secondly, there is, whether we like to admit it or not, that an idyllic relationship between the teacher and taught is rarely witnessed in the field of performing arts in particular. And so, Why is this? There's a lack of trust. There is a lack of loyalty, both on guru and the part of the guru and teacher, the teacher and the taught. There is interference of family. There is clash of egos. There are family members whose visions are directly opposite of that of the guru or the mentor or the teacher, whatever you want to call them, ignoring and overriding the vision and direction envisaged by the teacher is a very big problematic area. It does not speak well for the interpretation of the Guru Shishya Parampara by those connected with the disciple. And if a disciple allows for that, revels in that, encourages it, and takes support of that, then they are violating the norms of the Guru Shishya Parampara. And I want to say this emphatically. There is excessive and unethical control mechanisms, both on part of the student as well as the teacher. There is emotional control and manipulation on both sides, on the part of the teacher as well as the taught. There is a convenient interpretation of the term Guru Shishya Parampara by the teacher and the taught, very often to justify the travesty that both of them are wreaking on this system. Ambition manifests as greed, both in the teacher and the taught. Committing one of the Pancha Mahapapas has been already covered. Is it feasible or practical to continue with and look for the ideals to be re-enshrined and relocated in this relationship between teacher and taught? Or should we be moving on to recast it in practical terms, which will make it possible for a guru and the teacher and the taught to continue a lifelong relationship is the main question we're asking. Who owns greater responsibility? Do they own equal responsibility? And speaking for myself, please do not give me responsibility without the right. Where there is a responsibility, there is a right. If you want to deny me my right as a teacher, do not give me the responsibility of being a guru. Do not quote the well-defined norms of what an ideal guru is, who an ideal guru should be, that the whole of society is willing to say, Bagar, you must, see that your tradition goes forth or your art. No. I do not want the art that I have learned from loving gurus. And I have not listed that. My gurus have been like my parents. Each and every one of them, I have received nothing but love. Nothing but love. I have no cause for complaint and I've learned from a number of teachers because of the geographical shifting, being an army daughter, which Pushkalaji would know what it means. Because of those compulsions, I have had to be trained under a series of gurus. Not one of them resented that, not one of them resisted it, not one of them opposed it. Therefore, I'm not coming from a space of negativity. I'm coming from a space of realization that kind of a bond, that kind of a trust, that kind of a loyalty cannot be expected to emerge suddenly out of this displaced reality that we have of operating in the digital world, where the norms, even the definition of success is shifting. It's a shifting paradigm. What is success? Who is a successful teacher? Who is a successful student? Who has promoted the art? Who has perpetuated the art within a responsible manner? These are all relevant questions. These are embedded in that whole concept of Guru Shishya Parampara. And until we have been, and I don't think we'll be able to do it, frankly. I don't think the society is any longer geared for that. We should respect it, to my opinion. This is the last bit, is my opinion. We should respect the principles embedded in that tradition. Leave it alone. Leave it alone. It's something worthy of veneration. Let's get real. Let's take a reality check. Deal with the dynamics of today's situation and do not give a dog a name and hang it. I'm not prepared to be called a guru. If I am capable of being a guru. But to a person who gives me that responsibility, I say, give me the right. And then I shall discharge my responsibilities. Until then, do not use the word guru. And do not bandy about either my name or my discipline that you have learned from me. Irresponsibility to suit yourself as and when you want, to interpret it the way you want to your benefit, and not even be a part of my vision and my career plan for you or the development of an art form that I have shed sweat and tears and toil to build from scratch. Nobody has that right. Neither society nor those who have learned. And I will say this emphatically over and over again. I will take the responsibility of the mantle of a guru only when the rights are given to me. Otherwise not. I would rather die as a dancer who could have been a good teacher and a good guru, but has not found a worthy disciple. I would much rather go that way. Thank you.
It's very difficult to wrap up such a conversation where we've had such richness of insight and experience. As someone who was given the opportunity to moderate this, I must thank all of you and Sanjay ji for actually bringing this panel together. In closing, I think all I can say is I would thank everyone for sharing so openly, so honestly, because if we are to assess, evaluate, and evolve this Guru-Shishya relationship, then this conversation, discussions like these, are part of that evolutionary process. It is the light of understanding and realization, I think, that will take us forward. Thank you to all of the panelists and the younger generation of artists who joined us and shared so openly and shared their vulnerabilities with us. And thank you to everyone in the audience for staying with us. It's a very interesting conversation, which meant that no matter how late the hour, I'm sure you were all riveted by it. Thank you to one and all. Sanjay ji, it's only Sanjay ji closes.
And it's just that before we say good night, I would like to thank each and every person on the panel who have accepted to be here and put their views in front of all of us and enriching us with their thoughts. Before we say good night, I would like to make an announcement that Parampara Dancing Music Forum will be conducting another webinar in March, middle of the March, connected to the same subject, which takes forward this discussion. So please do join us, do like, share our YouTube channel and book page so that you get our updates. Thank you, and a very good night to all. Pranam.
Pranam, Shubhratri. Thank you very much.